What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I want to talk about some important news that we have out today, but also what we are going to see moving forward, because right now the number one question that I receive on this channel by far without question is, when are we going to see this stimulus checks come? So the important news first, I want to address what we are kind of seeing happening today, what we are most likely going to see happen this coming week, and when we will see these stimulus checks actually hit our bank accounts. So let's get into the video. Let's get into the update. First off, hopefully you're having a wonderful day. If you are, do me a favor, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. So here's where I want to start. First off, for the longest time, Democrats blamed former President Donald Trump and the Trump administration for the struggling economy. Now Republicans are doing the exact same thing to Democrats and saying that no, it's the Biden administration that is making this just a very difficult time, that it shouldn't be this difficult. You have all the power. What is taking you so long? That's exactly what many people are asking here on the channel as well. Well, what we know right now is that the fight within Congress is not over. This is happening right now, and every single one is trying to prove that the other party is the one to blame, whether it was previously to blame or they are to blame now. They're just trying to get the upper hand for the upcoming election in about 2 years. So what you need to understand is all of this is still a game. They are still playing the political game, and this is exactly how politics work. It's nothing new. It's nothing new just because of stimulus or because of a pandemic. It's just that it makes it a little bit more public when all this stuff is being thrown out there in front of the American people. So what you need to understand is at this point, it looks like the stimulus talks, looks like this stimulus package, the recovery plan, or the American recovery plan will actually pass. But the issue is they are still taking their time. Today, the House is expected to vote and pass this roughly $1.9 trillion stimulus package. And once this is passed, it can finally be kicked over to the Senate, and they can start inputting their amendments and possibly debating. Now, I addressed this the other day, but I just want to address it one more time, is if we see this go to an up and down vote in the Senate, that would be a pretty good thing. That means that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer believes that he has the 50 votes to get this passed. But if this doesn't go to an up and down vote and it actually goes into the committees and into a debate, then it could potentially take a little bit longer, and I'll explain that in just a minute. But we know there's still talk surrounding the $15 federal minimum wage. That's not going to go away. Nancy Pelosi stated that the House is still going to keep the $15 federal minimum wage in the bill, and if the Senate wants to go and amend it, then they can. Well, the reason why she's leaving it in there is to allow the Senate to potentially overrule the Senate parliamentarians' ruling that she had yesterday. So we will see what happens there. But we also know that Senator Joe Manchin does not want to go and do and overrule the Senate parliamentarian. Neither does Kamala Harris, and President Biden doesn't want that either. Chances are Senator Kyrsten Sinema would vote against this also. So what we know is that we have to go a different route. Here's where it gets really interesting and very important, because Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Ron Wyden both want to impose tax penalties on large corporations that do not pay a livable wage. And according to Ron Wyden, a livable wage is considered $15 per hour. However, we do not know the text of this as they're still working this, but this looks like we could see this unveiled sometime next week. If this does happen, this is going to be key. What we see happen here will be very important, because depending on how this bill is written and what is actually included in it, we could see Republicans back off of their stance and try to negotiate a $15 minimum wage that doesn't actually go into effect until 4 years down the road. But we could see this go into kind of negotiation happen, because this will probably be a standalone bill if this does, but it doesn't have to be a standalone bill if Democrats decide, okay, we're not going to do a $15 federal minimum wage, but we are pretty much going to make these corporations pay a $15 minimum wage because we are going to tax them. We are going to give them tax penalties for not paying at least $15 an hour for any individual. So if this happens, we could see some corporations try to, find the loophole around this, but at the same time, Democrats are like, no, we are wanting you to pay this, you're gonna pay this, and we're gonna figure out any way possible to get this through. So that's kind of what we're hearing at this point. Now, we do know this same group of progressives, there's about 50 progressives in the House and Senate that are fighting for multiple changes, not just the $15 federal minimum wage. They're fighting for, they want $2,000 monthly stimulus checks, which at this time, and I said this multiple times before, I don't see this happening. It's possible, but I could see a $2,000 stimulus check, but not monthly. I just don't see this happening because it would be very expensive. And right now, President Biden wants to do other things, and he wants to take that money and allocate it elsewhere. So that's kind of what we're seeing there. As far as another thing that they want changed, they would like to see $600 per week for unemployment benefits. This could happen. This is something that we could see, especially if the unemployment rate is actually 10%, like Jerome Powell, or Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, is saying. He's also saying that the lowest income earners, the lowest 25% of income earners, they have a roughly 25% unemployment rate compared to others that make even more. So that's kind of a big difference there as well. And the last thing that this group of progressives would like changed is they want to see the income limits lifted off the $1,400 stimulus checks. Now, I don't see this happening because people like Joe Manchin stand in the way of this. I think Joe Manchin he's very set on not allowing people that make $250,000, $300,000, not allowing them to get a stimulus check. But what he needs to understand, I think what Chuck Schumer is going to try to do is make sure he understands that, okay, if we don't give progressives the $15 per hour minimum wage provision that they requested, they're not going to back the rest of this bill. They're not going to back the rest of this plan. Well, Joe Manchin doesn't even support the $15 federal minimum wage. So right there, Joe Manchin is kind of the problem and kind of the thorn in the Democrat side. And that's what's really important to know, because right now the biggest worry for Democrats is not what Republicans are doing, because they could care less because they have no power. It's what Joe Manchin is thinking. And right now, who really knows what he's thinking? But at the same time, Congress is worried about the length of time it could take to debate this package and all the provisions that people want to change. So right now what they are saying is that if we see the Senate parliamentarian rule against the child tax credit also, this is going to change a lot of things. So here's what we know. Here's what we know right now. Based on what Dick Durbin has said and multiple Democratic lawmakers, they are saying that the child tax credit for the $3,600 or $3,000, depending on how old your child is, this might not be a monthly payment starting in July, simply because the Senate parliamentarian might rule against this. If this happens, this group of progressives will most likely counter with something different. And that's where I was addressing yesterday, that there's talks about maybe raising the minimum wage, or the $15, not the $15 minimum wage, about raising the $1,400 stimulus checks to possibly $2,000. There's more talks on that now. There's more movement. There's a little bit of momentum behind that now, because some are saying that this provision, this paying the child tax credit early and getting an advance on that, could come down to whether the Senate parliamentarian thinks this is going to happen or not, and this whether it abides by the Byrd rule or it doesn't. So right now, that's huge, because here's what we know. All right, let me explain the timing of this stimulus package, because right now that's what everybody cares about. The good news is that as long as the House passes this bill today, it will be kicked over to the Senate next week, and they can take up the legislation starting on Monday. Well, that's really good. But just because the Senate takes up this legislation does not mean a thing, because they know there's going to be amendments. They know there's going to be amendments for the $1,400 stimulus checks. Whether that really goes into effect or not, who knows? We know there's going to be an amendment for the $15 federal minimum wage increase. It's going to be coming from Bernie Sanders and Ron Wyden. We know there's probably going to be an amendment for the child tax credits. I know Mitt Romney still wants to see something different. So we will see if he does propose the $4,200 for that, and taking the money from other places and putting it there. I don't think it's going to go very far, but it could. Now, all these different amendments are going to take some time. We're going to have to see, most likely, we're going to see debates on at least a handful of these, because some of these are actually good amendments. And if lawmakers have these proposals and their amendments ready to go, we can see this speed up a little bit. But here's the issue. What's probably going to happen, and again, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but this is probably going to happen, is we're going to see some lawmakers propose some type of amendment that changes the package as it currently stands. If that does, fine. But then we could see this group of progressives, which is not a large group in the Senate, it's mostly in the House, but we could see some progressives that want to see some changes. And if we see this, okay, and Bernie Sanders is one of those people, and he holds a lot of power in the Senate. But if he wants to see a change, and he sees, okay, we have an amendment here, but now we need to address this issue here, and whether it's unemployment, whether it's $1,400 stimulus checks, whether it's rental assistance, nutrition assistance, whatever it is, right? If we see this happen, then that's where things are going to take a little bit of a turn, and we could see this take a little bit longer. But as of right now, as long as we get this passed today through the House, and we see the lawmakers continue to move on their amendments this weekend, which I'll provide updates on for you guys there as well over the weekend, like I always do. But if we see this, that's good news, because then we know they're coming ready to talk about this and unveil their proposals this coming week. If they wait until the middle of this next week, or even until the end of this week, we're not going to see it passed. So what we need to see a vote happen this week within the Senate, or this coming week within the Senate. It needs to pass today through the House. If it does, and as long as nobody has any real big issues, then this bill will most likely get voted on the week of March 8th. Within the Senate, it will most likely pass, hopefully. And if it does, we could see this land on President Biden's desk sometime before March 14th so he can sign it. So, if all this stuff happens, what we could see, if it gets all signed by March 14th, by the end of the week of that week, so by March 19th, we could see stimulus checks through direct deposit hitting our bank accounts. That would be big. That would be big if we can see those stimulus checks in, what is that? That would be 3 weeks away. Again, we only have like 12 days before the March 14th deadline. So it's coming down to the wire. Congress works very slowly. Lawmakers are very slow with whatever they do. And I get it. Some just don't want it to pass. Others want so much that it takes too long. So right now, that's what we know. That's kind of what we're hearing. But as we know more, I promise I'll come back and fill you in on all the updates. Right now, I'm still waiting to hear if the Senate passes this bill or the House passes this bill today. I will give you updates on that, as well as some other things that we are hearing later on today. So make sure you come back, make sure you subscribe, and you can stay updated on everything that we're hearing. So again, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.